stand for the invocation and the pledge, please? Mr. Jones.
Our Father, we're grateful for today and for this time you've given us to be together to take care of the business of our great county. We thank you for those that are here to participate in this process. Lord, we pray for strength and wisdom and guidance for the commissioners as they make the decisions that are important for Walton County. Lord, as your word says, we pray that all things be done peacefully and in order. In your name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I want to welcome everybody to this special meeting, April 26th. Reference our quasi-judicial items. Mac, you got the floor.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Thank you. Matt Carpenter for the Planning Department. This morning we have two items on our agenda. The first one is Sacred Heart at Watersound Origins, and this is a request to approve by final order. The project has been reviewed by...
I'm sorry. Before you get too far, I think I'll go ahead and swear everybody in. Anyone who anticipates testifying, if you stand and raise your right hand. Can you hear me? Sorry. It just shut off. Can I use yours later?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Anyone who anticipates testifying, if you would stand and raise your right hand, and if you're going to testify on either item on today's agenda. Okay. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you will provide to this board will be the truth? Okay. Whenever you come forward, if you would just state your full name and state that you've been sworn in. Have any of the commissioners had any ex parte communications on any of these items? Yes?
Yes.
Would any of those ex parte communications influence your decision making in any way?
No.
Okay, all are answering no. And I guess if the commissioners would provide the clerk with their ex parte forms. Thank you, Mac.
Thank you. Again, Commissioner, we have two items. First item is the Sacred Heart Watersound Origins. This is a request approved by final order. It's been reviewed by Renee Bradley. It's a major development order application submitted by Dan Velasquez on behalf of the Watersound Company, LLC, requesting approval to develop 13,210 square feet of medical office space on approximately 2.99 acres with the future land use of town center. The project's located north of the intersection of US 98 East and North Watersound Parkway and is identified by the parcel numbers in your package. At this time, we'd like to request our staff report to be entered into the record.
So moved.
And the applicant is here to present their case.
Okay. Who's the applicant? All right. Come forward, please. State your name for the record.
Michael Arthur Buchanan, Harper, 735 West 11th Street.
Hang on a minute. I think your mic is off. Would you click their mic? Okay, say that again, please.
Michael Harper Buchanan and Harper, 735 West 11th Street, Panama City. Agent for the applicant. I have been sworn in.
Okay.
Ben Mormon with the St. Joe Company. Have been sworn in as well.
Okay. All right, move forward. What do you want the board to hear?
Well, we're here. This is the first commercial building within the commercial area of Watersound Origins. We submitted an application. It is consistent with the code, and we're here to ask for your approval. Be glad to answer any questions.
There's always one thing I look at, and that is stormwater retention. And give me a second to go through here and find it.
Well, I can give you a general rundown on that if you would like.
Go ahead.
This facility is within the area that was permitted as part of the two ponds that are at the entrance. So this drains to the existing stormwater management system that was previously approved by the county.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the board? Any public comment? Seeing none, close public comment section. What's the board's wishes?
Motion to approve. Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Commissioners. That brings us to item number 2, the Sandestin Boutique Hotel. Commissioners, this is a request to approve by final order. It's been reviewed by Renee Bradley. It's a major development order application submitted by Emerald Coast Associates on behalf of Sandestin Investments LLC, requesting approval to develop a 250-room hotel on approximately 2.11 acres with a future land use of Coastal Center. Project's located at the northeast or at the northwest intersection of Baytown Village Drive and Legend Creek Drive within the Sandestin Development of Regional Impact. We'd like to request that the staff report be entered into the record.
So moved.
The applicant is here to present her case.
Mr. Matthews?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you. Dana Matthews here for the applicant, Sandestin Investments. Been a long time coming after, if y'all remember, when we adopted the revised ordinance 2017-12, which was the NOPC ordinance. This is the first project that is coming before you based on the resolution of all the issues at Sandestin. Briefly, this is a 250-unit hotel project. There are 250 parking spaces that are intended to be used, and I'm going to go through some drawings here in a minute to kind of point them out to you. Part of those are going to, the parking is going to be under the building on the first floor, what we call the garage level. Part of them will be surface parking on existing parking that is out there today, and then part of it's going to be a new parking deck that will be also built in conjunction with the hotel. The building has 7,365 square feet in a spa area. There's another 4,473 square feet in a small restaurant for use by the owners, but also incidental use by the public. It's 10 stories over parking, and there is a rooftop deck, which will be the pool area. It's a $75 million project to get it turnkey. And it is not intended to be sold. My client intends to operate it with a company called Highgate out of New York City. They're a high-end hotel operator, and so it will be owned and by Mr. Becknell and his companies. The revised ordinance 2017-12, as you know, provided for various densities and intensities of use, and they were put within various parcels north and south of Highway 98, and this project is north of 98. So there's 466 residential dwelling units that are allocated among 5 parcels cumulatively north of 98. And this is one of those parcels. We call it, in your staff report, you'll see it's called parcel 320.1. I think this is probably a good time to get kind of orient you. And by the way, there's 192 residential dwelling units that are place set for this particular parcel. This is, if you've been out to Sandestin, this kind of area will kind of orient you a little bit. This is Baytown Avenue. So if you come in the north gate of Sandestin, you come through the gate, there's a little roundabout, turn right, that's Perrin Walk Drive. You go about a mile and a half, dead end there to a T. If you turn left, you go up to Baytown. Baytown is right in here. You go past Baytown, you have the entrance into what they call the Grand Sandestin. Okay? And the entranceway, as you can see, is here. And there's a porte-cochere. It comes back out. Right now, you can get into the, this is what we call the conference center. There's a subterranean garage area I'll talk about here in a minute. You can also get into the same garage area by coming in here, or right here. So there's your Grand Sandestin. Here's, I'm familiar, thank you. Okay, so here's Grand Sandestin, here's the conference center. This is what they call Lasada condominium. This is Bahia, and this is Elation. What you can't see is underneath all this area is a massive parking garage, if you will. And when Interwest built these condominiums back in the conference center back in the early 2000s, mid-2000s, all the parking was provided for underneath the ground in this big parking lot. This parking was created, and it's out there today, by Interwest, not dedicated for use by anybody, it's owned by, and is now owned by Sandestin Investments. And there's 45 parking spaces in here. And we call this the north parking lot, this is the south parking lot. There's 45 parking spaces in the north that are dedicated for the use of LaSada. There's an actual easement. LaSada condominium, because, Elation condominium, because there wasn't enough parking underneath their building when their declaration condominium was originally created. You can see these 45 spaces, you see these little black marks right here. Those were the actual designated spaces as part of the reported easements and public records. The location of those has changed by a mutual agreement of the parties, but there's nothing to reflect that. So this kind of gives you an idea of what the current conditions look like. And then I'm going to show you something else that will help identify what's going to happen. This is, by the way, this is what we call, this is one of the site plans that staff has that was submitted during the planning commission. So now we're looking at it as a two-dimensional drawing. You can see that this south parking lot right here, this is currently asphalt. It's impervious area. And it currently, stormwater is pumped in by piping into the pond in Lake Town Ward. This is where the new hotel is going to be built. So it's going to be built up here. When it's all done, you're going to have access off of Baytown Avenue. You're going to come into here. This is the parking garage. Remember, it's a 10-story building. You're going to have, so they have parking in here. I think it's 51 spaces. You come in through here, and it's going to connect up. This building butts up to the conference center that's currently existing that I was showing you. Here's the conference center. Here's the drive aisle. You go down underneath. This building is going to be built here, and it's going to butt right up to that. Okay? So all So when the building is completed, then that's how the owners of the hotel, the owners of these condominiums will have, their access will be restored into here. But instead of coming down here and coming in, they're going to be coming in through here. And we've worked with these condominium, five condominiums over here through Gary Shipman and Melissa Ward and their board member representatives before we got to you guys, before we got the planning commission actually. SDI has the right to relocate access easements and parking easements with the reported documents. So we wanted to make sure that the condominiums were comfortable where we were citing the relocation. During construction, obviously, this area is not going to be accessible at some point because you're going to be building a hotel here. This is the existing driveway that comes in. That's not going to be able to be used because of, again, it's a laydown area. This area in green is what we call a laydown area. Construction, you're going to put equipment and storing materials. So at some point, and we'll talk about construction period, that's going to be a new. So there's a new, right now there's an access that comes in through what we call the north parking lot. We're going to create, right now there is no access here. This is going to be created during construction. And so that everybody that comes into the resort will be able to come in here and check in to the Grand still. They'll be able to use the portico share. Valet, they'll still be able to get over here and park underneath if they so choose. They'll park out here. There will be the 45 spaces that are identified. Those are the elation parking spaces that we've agreed to with them for them to have during temporary construction. They want to make sure that those 45 are not interrupted during construction because they won't be. We make sure that they would have access. What you'll see here in red dotted is for purposes of, as of March 28th, a potential situs location of the parking deck. Okay, remember I told you there was going to be another parking deck. It's going to be at least 2 or 3 stories, depending on the final design. This hotel has to have a minimum of 31 parking spaces more than what's currently out there today. So they're gonna be provided for in this deck. To the extent this deck takes any surface parking up, it's gotta create the same amount, so that there is 250 parking spaces. That's different than what SDI had submitted within their application. We suggested based on CBRE, which is a nationally recognized marketing and feasibility company for hotels, to study this site, if they were looking at a 69-72% occupancy rate. We thought 190 parking spaces based on that was sufficient. But in negotiations with Mr. Shipman and his people, they wanted 1-to-1, we said fine. So we're gonna have a minimum of 250 spaces dedicated for use of the hotel. This parking deck, because again, construction plans on a project this size are still being finalized, has to be reviewed by the staff. Okay, and that's the part of the staff report, and will be part of the motion in the final order if you so choose to approve, that the deck will be reviewed by staff as a less than minor development order, because wherever the location is, we got to deal with stormwater and all the other things in purview. So that tells you what's going to happen in the future. Does anybody have any questions?
I do. What's going to be, after you get through with the construction area?
Oh, that's a good point. Thank you, Ms. Jones. I'm sorry. So once construction's over with, obviously no laydown area. Wherever the parking deck is, could be here, could be shifted over a little bit, but this whole drive aisle area will be restored. So when it's all said and done, when it's finally finished, this will be restored. They'll still have the traditional access here. There's a portico share, the hotel kind of extends out here. You won't be able to come in through here to here, but you'll come into here. This will still be accessible. So none of the existing access ways into the subterranean garages will be eliminated after construction. They get restored. This gets restored, but different access into it. And the 45 parking space for relation will be either there or whatever we mutually agree on, because there's an easement in place.
Any questions?
Go ahead and address stormwater.
I'm sorry?
Want to go ahead and address stormwater?
Yes, ma'am. With stormwater, all I can tell you is the existing Dean Burgess can answer the technical question, but right now, as you can tell, this whole area is impervious area. And so you had to provide stormwater when the county approved the parking lot for Air West. And there's piping that goes into the lake over here, part of the general stormwater system of Sandestin. And so Mr. Burgess had to design the hotel. Matter of fact, I don't think he changed it hardly at all. They'll be using the same system, same stormwater that's been approved. But like I said, Mr. Burgess can answer technical questions.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I do have a question regarding Highway 98 and the gate that's there, if it's convenient to ask you now about that, or whenever you want to talk. Highway 98 and the gate that comes into Sandestin, the main gate?
Right. The main gate is not going to be altered at all, nor will the, what I call the Applebee's gate. There are no road improvements that are required as part of this project. However, you may recall back in November when we adopted, or September when we adopted the revised ordinance, I told you that there was a separate settlement agreement entered into between Sandestin Owners Association and SDI that had lots of other agreements in it. And one of which was for SDI, Sandestin, to provide roads, some road or land for a new road improvement off of Heron Walk Drive and intersecting with Baytown. If I may show this to you. We just got this from Sandestin, or SOA, a couple days ago. Mr. Becknell, as part of these agreements, had agreed to provide, and he owns all the land, golf course, all these right of ways. And this is, I'm sorry, this is Heron Walk Drive. And this is, and I said,
The Marriott is the commercial you see in the corner. You see the Marriott. Okay, look. Here's Heron Walk Drive. You're coming down Heron Walk Drive. This is Baytown Avenue. This is the Marriott. This goes up to Baytown itself.
Oh, this should go, that's right.
This is going toward the maintenance area. This is going back toward the Welcome Center, and this going toward Baytown.
Yeah. Here's Heron Walk Drive. We're off the point over here, hasn't been built, here's the lake, and this goes up to the area we're talking about, right down the water area. Back now, dedicating the land. Again, this is just these are preliminary drawings. It takes a while for engineers to come up with a different design. We just got this, I think, 2 days ago. But I just want to give you an idea of what the parties are working for. And they're working for creating this roundabout somewhere in here. So when you came down from Baytown Wharf, you'd have a right turn only coming this way. And it basically provides a better flow of traffic going in and out. This sets back toward the Applebee's gate, if you will. So that's something that the partnership, joint venture, but by agreement, SOA and SDI are working towards creating that, and hopefully within the next year, that'll be a completed project. I don't know if that answers your question.
No, I didn't explain well. I guess my big concern is that even if at the 72% occupancy, we'll just say for easy pilot math, 200 cars, they're still going to have to stop at the gate. The arm's going to have to go down. They're going to have to probably get a pass, like, because you're not a resident of Sandustin. Arm comes up, and that will be on a regular basis. That will still have to happen with the hotel.
Of course, yes. Sandustin Owners Association controls the roads and the security into the resort through their gate system. And anybody that enters that Sandustin resort, whether you're an owner or a guest or some third party, you have to go through SOA security.
And there's no separate lane on Highway 98 for those people to move over. The time it takes for the person at the gate to give you a pass, gate opens, gate closes, that time. There's nothing else that's going to be built on 98. Is that correct?
No, but you got to remember that in last September, when we approved, when the county approved ordinance 2017-12, we went from the developer went from 1,800 and some odd RDUs down to about 800 and something to be constructed north and south of 98. Some others that were parked for potential development on those 3 golf holes on 30 acres on 98. All the driveways and all the accesses, all the roadways, all that has all been vested and all been considered in all those RDUs that are being reduced. So what we're just doing here is we are now have a parcel that's been approved for development by the county and through that ordinance, and that we are seeking to get approval for.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Anything else, Mr. Matthews, before I take public comment?
No, sir. I will reserve some comments after any kind of public comment. I did want to make sure that Mr. Burgess from Emerald Coast Associates, their application for this project and all submittals that they've delivered to staff is entered into the record as a composite exhibit for SDI.
So moved. We haven't got it, I don't guess, have we?
So all of that information should be contained in the board's
Okay.
packet.
Very well. All right, have only one that is signed up to speak in regards to that. That's Robert Walters. If you'll come forward, please.
Thanks for the opportunity to speak here. My name is Bob Walters, Robert Walters, 922 Evergreen Drive, Gretna, Louisiana. I'm an owner in the Elation, 5322, and Market Street Inn, 248. And have been in the Elation now for about 9 years. And I'm a little concerned about this project because I'm a little nervous also, you can see that. I've owned there, worked my whole life to buy these properties, and it was an important thing for me. And part of that, when I came here, I was under the impression this was going to be a dwelling-type community with condos. And had I known we were going to build a hotel here, there would have been no purchase made. It's as simple as that. keep getting things from Sandestin Rental Management that tells me my property values are going to go up. I've never seen any documentation supporting that, and I've read all the documents here about how much money this project will bring to the county and how much it's going to cost, the payback, and 60% plus rental occupancy, which has never happened in my 9 years. And I don't know how this property will help me, so I just wanted to state that it's not going to help me. I don't think it'll make property values go up. I'm a little concerned that only people within 300 feet of the construction project were formally notified. There's an inconsequential little sign in front of Baytown, the Grand, with references to this meeting, but you're in a gated community. That's a gate, like a gate around your house. Anything that happens in your backyard, you should be notified of. And that means that a lot of my Sandestin neighbors and friends, they had no clue about this hotel. Most of them didn't even know where it was going to be located. And they weren't notified, and they're inside that fence. I think we could have done a better job on that. And
Should I address his concerns? Should I address his concerns?
excuse me. Anyway, so they weren't notified, and I think they should have been. They got the cursory sign, and they may have got a newsletter from the Owners Association, but like many people who get weekly newsletters of events happening, we don't always read that. And I think there are a lot of people that were omitted from this, and they should have gotten some type of formal, even if it would have been not like me, not like a registered letter, but at least a letter to everyone in this. Because I guarantee you, you were here last year when everybody came in, and you couldn't get people in here. There were so many people trying to get this thing approved. And today, I'm the only guy that shows up. So I don't think that it was communicated well enough to the community north of 98. And then finally, as a rental owner, I find it really strange. Sandestin Rental Management is constantly bombarding us and telling us how this is going to help our property and help our property values. And like I said, I've seen no formal documentation of how it's going to increase my property. But back in a couple of years ago, if you remember when the oil platform went in, we had problems in the Gulf. Sandestin came back after, soliciting people to join them in a suit against BP to recover what they perceived would be as a lost revenue because of bad publicity and tar balls on the beach. I didn't join that mainly because I have an oil field background. And I don't know what the results were and how much money they may or may not have gotten from BP, but it seems odd to me that during this construction, there's going to be an intentional disruption of my business and my revenue. I'm going to have people that are living within 300 feet of this, renting my property, that are going to ask to move out because of this construction thing. I've got nothing back. I'm going to lose money on this. And there's been nothing done on the part of the developer to help those people that own now. So the recourse is to go to a lesser charge rental company, maybe get a little less service, or sell my property. And that's where I'm at. And I appreciate your time. I wish you'd just kind of think about the rental owners that worked their lives to buy this property. And now, I don't think any of them, I'm not opposed to development of another condo. I can compete with a condo, but I can't compete with a 250-room hotel. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Mr. Matthews, got any questions for him?
Yeah, may Mr. Becknell speak for a moment?
Well, since we've gone into this part of it, leave it for rebuttal, and he can come at that time.
Okay.
All right, is anyone else for public comment on this? Seeing none, we'll close the public comment section. Back to the applicant for any rebuttal.
Thank you. I'll be brief. I heard the gentleman's comments about the impact on his rental income and occupancy. Sandestin has not had a new product introduced since 2006 when Luau was built. the truth of the matter is, not only do we have a shortage of inventory in Sandestin, but the quality of a lot of the units that are in the rental programs, whether it's ours or a third party or through VRBO, is lacking. The quality has not been improved. People have not reinvested in their properties. We have had numerous incentive programs to try to get them to reinvest, remodel, and redecorate, and we've met with moderate success. Part of the goal of the new development is to add conference space so that we can bring in groups that have not been available to us previously because of the restriction on size and breakout space. The number of major groups that have been trying to get into Sandestin for 10 years is almost enough to fill up the hotel on any given week or month. They can't come now because we cannot provide the conference space and the breakout space they need. Part of the addition is a significant increase in conference and breakout space. We cannot build a conference space without some revenue generator to support it, and that's where the hotel comes in. We need the hotel for two reasons. We need to support the entire conference center, and we need to bring in more groups so that there is more rental income for the investment owners. Yes, during construction, it is inconvenient. But I have never been anywhere that construction is not inconvenient to someone. If they build a house next door to you, you have to put up with the noise and the traffic and the construction. That's just part of living in a community that is not fully built out. We're taking great pains to minimize the impact on the neighbors. We're going to start in the fall when the summer season is over with. By next summer, the majority of the outside heavy work will be completed and most of the work will be in the building. Not 100%, but the vast majority of disruptive work. The concrete trucks will be gone, the pilings are in, the real heavy construction will be completed. At the end of the project, we're going to restore the area as it was before and improve the parking facilities, which are woefully lacking now. We're in discussions with the condominium associations around us, as Mr. Matthews pointed out, to try to get together to build additional parking beyond what we need to accommodate the demand for Baytown and the condominiums that abut us. Right now, the condominiums that abut us do not own any parking outside of their buildings except for the 45, generally speaking, that belong to Elation. They need more parking. We're trying to work with them to provide that parking. So at the end of the construction cycle, I believe we'll bring in higher quality, larger groups, as well as the existing type of business we generate every day, and a rental owner should see a positive impact. If you bring in an 800-person conference, they can only occupy 250 hotel rooms if we gave them all to the conference, which we will not do. We need to keep a certain number of rooms for our resort guests. You can't shut it down. So there will be a blending. We think that this will also bring additional tourists to the resort in the off months. And what does that do? It generates rental income. It generates tax revenue for the county through their ancillary spend, and it will produce a number of jobs. This is a very big job generator within the county. 150 full-time employees, 300 steady construction employees throughout the construction cycle. And that doesn't include the ancillary employment that will come in laundry facilities, housekeeping, accounting, human resources, marketing, advertising, et cetera, et cetera. So, yes, construction is inconvenient. I just had the lot next to me built out. And for a year, I had to put up with it. But now, I have a good, nice neighbor and an improved lot. Thank you. Any questions?
Any questions?
Thank you.
No, sir. Thank you, Mr. McDowell. Mr. Matthews, got any
Just real
comments?
briefly, because I need to mention it. The workers during the course of this, again, kind of addressing one of the concerns Mr. Walker had, this area, which you can't see, we call the Monarch site, it's a big open vacant area, is all the workers during the off-season are going to be parking over there. and so they're not gonna be parking all over the resort. During the in-season, they'll be parking way down at admin, which is down there past Applebee's, and they'll be shuttled back and forth with us. And of course, there'll be safety workers directing, equipment. The other thing is that there's 106 to RDUs for the equivalency for the hotel units. There's a conversion matrix for traffic that's been submitted to staff. They've approved that. So when the final order comes around, there'll be a drawdown. There's going to be a drawdown of 8,260 square feet of commercial space because of the spa and the restaurant. It'll be drawn down from the existing commercial entitlements. That will be reflected in updated scheduled tables, what we call Table Z from the NOPC ordinance with letter confirmation and verification with the county staff, again, for our ongoing monitoring of existing entitlements. There'll be another reduction of 106 RDUs from this specific site. So there'll be 86 left on this site. And based on the staff report and what you've heard here today, that this application is consistent with Ordinance 2007-12 adopted by the county, as well as the Land Development Code and the Comprehensive Plan. If I may be, I have a proposed motion that I would like to have entertained. If I may pass this around. If I may, what we're suggesting is that the board move to approve this project and subject to what I've handed out. Number one, conditions of approval stated in the staff report dated April 26, 2018. All those that are listed there, numbers 1 through 6, and then 6, 7, 8, 10, and 11. There was 2 6s, no number 9. And then numbers 12 through 14, all that's in your staff report. I haven't taken anything out of the staff report in terms of their conditions of approval. Number 2 was a condition of approval that we agreed to before the Planning Commission. This was at the request of the Mr. Shipman and his Bahia, Grand Sandestin, Lasada, Elation Condominium Associations. They wanted to make sure that when the project was completed, that they still had another entranceway through the north parking lot. We agreed, was not in the staff report of the other day, and as a matter of what I told Mr. Shipman we would do, that's why I've added it here. Number 3 is mentioned in the staff report, but it's all what we had talked about in the Planning Commission is that the parking deck would be considered after today, on a less than minor development order application. So I thought it was important, it ought to be in the motion. So that's my suggestion. The last thing I have is that there is a final order that was in your staff report or your packages. I reviewed that yesterday. I've sent some red line edited with some changes to Ms. Noyes and Ms. Bradley and Mr. Carpenter. That was late yesterday, so they haven't had a chance to review it, I'm sure. I would ask that the final order be entered into upon approval by the county attorney.
And Commissioners, we'll make sure the final order that's signed by the chair, depending on the vote today, reflects the actions of the board. So if you guys make a motion similar to what Mr. Matthews is suggesting, we'll make sure everything's reflected in the final order accurately.
I'm here to answer any other questions you might have.
Based upon the staff report, I show a total of 14 conditions. There was 2 number 6s, but.
And number 9 is missing.
And number 9 is missing,
So that's what I tried to point it out exactly the way it was in the staff report. And bottom line, we accept all those conditions.
Right, that's what I was gonna allude to. If the motion comes forward, it'd be based upon the conditions of approval based on the staff report.
As well as these other 2.
Yeah. Renee, have you seen this motion that does he any grief with that? No. Okay.
And Renee, the parking deck would normally come across your desk as a minor development order?
Just in addition to, if it's just parking, there's no enclosed space, I don't think there's an issue with it being a less than minor development order, because all the impervious surface in that area is already taken care of, so it's not necessarily new stormwater. So we're not adding more intensity to the site, we're just taking care of parking. So I would think that a less than minor development order would be adequate.
Okay. Any other questions? Anything else? All right. Okay, we've heard it. What's the board's wishes?
Make a motion to approve with these items and with the staff report.
And so just to be clear, with the items mentioned by Mr. Matthews.
Right.
And given to us as an exhibit.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, we
I'll second that motion.
got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries. That's it. I think that's all we have for today, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So
Motion
moved.
to adjourn.